You don't need me to tell you that Sonya vs. Mileena was one of the weaker fight scenes in the new Mortal Kombat movie, but it's not that it just felt weaker. It felt different. Something about the editing. And I guarantee it's not what you're thinking. This fight wasn't edited like a bunch of Ginsu knives were thrown at the film and then it was glued back together in whatever random order it happened to be in on the floor. You see, the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie had a problem with the weapons being too flimsy. And it's not just during the Sonya vs. Mileena fight. Look at this, when Kano goes to tear the towel rack out of the shelf, it's clearly supposed to be a thick piece of metal, and something that's actually dangerous to get hit by. But the thing bends like it's in a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's okay in that fight, because we don't usually think of a towel rack as a deadly weapon, so the audience lets the bending slide a little bit. But when it comes to a weapon that's supposed to be deadly, like a sai, this is a problem. No doubt somebody's gonna chime in the comments and say, well, it was too dangerous, they had no choice, they had to make them this flimsy for safety's sake. And to you, kind idiot, I say, if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies could do it for a quarter of the budget while the actors were basically wearing a bucket over their face, then I think you could probably do it in Mortal Kombat.
I withdraw my question.
The weapons weren't supposed to be this flimsy, and I'm going to show you that it's clear that they knew it was a problem and were trying to hide it. But most importantly, this fight scene wasn't ruined in the editing room, it was salvaged. This was saved by the editor. So we're gonna find out in this video how to edit around a terrible prop that's ruining the fight scene. By the way, I use this insert shot of Adobe Premiere all the time, and none of you have ever mentioned that the titles of the video clips are Rumble in the Bronx, The Golden Girls at War, and Can I Borrow a Feeling?
Oh, my demo tape!
Either you guys need to start paying more attention to the stuff in these videos, or you're gonna have to go back to Gudger College for a semester. Here Mileena's sai is bent at about 45 degrees, but having the entire blade cropped off at the bottom of the screen helps to hide that. The next time their hands clash, the editor has to crop them off the top of the screen entirely. This must have been a huge bend in the sai. We do have to see the weapons now and then though, otherwise it looks like they aren't there at all. So when they do start to bend, the editor cuts away from them as quickly as possible while giving us just a taste of the idea that there are weapons being used. You might notice that the farther we are away from the sais, the longer the shots last. That's because the greater the distance, the more difficult it is for the audience to tell that the sais are bending so much. Sonya throws a knife and Mileena goes to bat it away. The editor cropped the image so that the sai goes from off of the right side of the screen to blocked by Mileena's body to off at the top side of the screen. Unfortunately, they had to crop off Mileena's head. There's no way they would have filmed this shot without having the actor's head in it. So this is something that the editor had to actively do to cover up how bad the props were and make the fight feel more like a dangerous Mortal Kombat showdown than a little kid playing with a pool noodle. Unfortunately, sometimes the editor has no choice. The other camera angle that's over the shoulder for Mileena would block the sai and the knife entirely with her arm in this position, so we have to see it from this angle. But even though we see the blade bend on contact, they let the shot continue without cutting because the sais end up blocked by both bodies. Notice how whenever possible the editor keeps the actresses' heads on camera while cropping the weapons off the screen. This way we can see that there's a fight and something blocked, but we don't see the pool noodle prop. Another good strategy is using camera angles where the blade bends towards the camera, making it more difficult to notice. I hate frame dropping, and here we go from Sonya starting her attack to when the block has already happened. But the editor dropped these frames so that we didn't see one of the side prongs of the sai get completely smushed. Look at the big S curve in the weapon. I suspect the actress is gripping it in the middle like this to try to hold the blade as straight as possible and cover up the flimsiness. Here there's a big bend in Mileena's weapon, and I don't think the editor had much of a choice. We need to see the knee hitting the arm here to understand what's going on, and from the other camera angle off to the right, that point of impact would be blocked by where their hands are. So what they make sure to do is show us the impact with the knee, and then as soon as possible, cut away to an insert shot of the knife. And yes, we can still see the sai, but notice we can only see half of it. The other half has been cropped off at the top of the screen so that we don't see the flaw in the prop. This fight scene was absolutely salvaged in the editing room. This is how you hide a broken prop that risks ruining an entire fight. And I have a sneaking suspicion that now and then they did something like this, where it looks like they artificially enhanced the motion blur so that we can't see the sai clearly enough to notice a bend in it. We do get a very clear shot of the sai here, but the reason for that is it's not the same prop. This is a CGEye sai. Unfortunately, just like in the Goro fight, the actress takes her hand away from the weapon, but doesn't open it until her hand is way over here. And then of course the other actress puts her face right where the CGI Sai is supposed to be. So how does the editor solve that problem? Zooms in on the shot enough that it's cropped off when her head gets into the spot the Sai is supposed to be. This shot is a perfect illustration of what the editor did to salvage this fight scene. No doubt there was a wider angle here, and we would have seen the Sai from beginning to end. So what happened is the editor zoomed in so that the Sai is off the right side of the screen, is on camera for only a couple of frames, but then there was an enhanced motion blur so that we can't really notice how badly damaged the prop is. And then it immediately goes off the left side of the screen. When you put this all together, it looks like a normal shot. But what's really happening is the editor is salvaging this fight scene for us and making it look like it really is a dangerous fight and not two kids just flailing around with pool noodles. Mileena leaps onto Sonya, and again we've got this trick of the Sai ending up just off camera. The blade sticking into Sonya is a completely different prop, so it's okay to get a close shot, and here they make sure to show as little of the weapon as possible while letting us know that it's still there. And for this shot, they switch to a different prop with a much sharper point on the end of it so that it looks like Sonya has been in a lot of danger this whole time. And this is probably the facial expression the editor had when first viewing the footage. This isn't your typical over-edited Western style, ruined in post-production fight scene. This fight scene didn't work when it was filmed, and it was salvaged for us in the editing process. So yeah, the editing for Sonya versus Mileena looks a little different than the rest of Mortal Kombat 2021, but it was either a slightly different feel or cutting the fight entirely. This is how an editor can save a fight scene when a prop is broken and in danger of ruining the entire thing. But for some reason, the execution of the moves still looked amateurish, and if you want to find out why, click on part 2 here. Or if you want to see the same CGI mistake, but with better choreography, here's my breakdown of Cole Young versus Goro in Mortal Kombat.